Today we have a story of crazy entitled parents who make their kid come along so that they can watch their older sibling and make sure they don't get up to anything funny with their new girlfriend. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, would I be the jerk for having my father-in-law's bail revoked? Buckle up, as this is a bit of a ride. First of all, I'm unable to post this in Am I the Jerk due to being banned from that sub. Oops, please feel free to pass judgment here. On to the story. My wife and I have been married for 20 years and have 11-year-old triplets, 2 boys and a girl. Back towards the beginning of the year, my father-in-law was arrested. Charges included inappropriate contact with a minor, sexually explicit conversations online, but no actual SA or contact. Regardless, he's a piece of crap and there's little doubt that he's guilty. My mother-in-law is still very active in hours in our kids' lives, but one of the conditions for his bail is that he can't be in any contact with any minors. So the kids haven't seen him since his arrest. We've been purposely vague with them about why he can't see them, so they do understand that he's done something wrong and we can't see him. To their credit, they never bring him up. Fast forward to last week, the kids had a back-to-school day which included a band concert. My mother-in-law attended, which is normal, but after the concert, she gave each of them an envelope. They contained a little cash as well as a note from my father-in-law to each kid. I brought this up with my wife, and to my great relief, we were on the same page and were not happy about it. But as we were talking, she mentioned something that happened last week. She was on the phone with her mom, and without my wife's knowledge, her mom put the phone on speaker and sat down with my father-in-law. My wife was sitting with one of our sons, and as soon as my father-in-law heard my son's voice, he yelled, "Hey grandson, Grandpa loves you and misses you." My wife quickly got up and ended the call, but when she came back into the room, my son was understandably devastated. The worst part is that my father-in-law doesn't think he's done anything wrong throughout this whole ordeal, and my mother-in-law is in full-blown denial. My priority during this whole thing is my kids, and I'm afraid that these issues are not going to stop. Would I be the jerk if I reach out to law enforcement and check into having his bail revoked? My wife is on board, but this would destroy our relationship with the rest of her side of the family. Honestly, I think 2 realistic options here is either cutting off their entire side of the family or doing exactly what OP described. I mean, I completely understand why you wouldn't want your kids exposed to somebody like that. And in a way, if you kind of ignore it or allow this to happen, you're in a way kind of endorsing them getting away with this thing scot-free. Pirate John 75 commented, "He seems to think the rules don't apply to him, and quite frankly, the mother-in-law allowing it shows that she doesn't respect boundaries either. He clearly has no intention of abiding by his bond conditions, so the only way to keep not only your children, but any other children around safe is to let him deal with the consequences of his own actions." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, my mom just kicked me out and is trying to blackmail me into coming back by keeping my stuff. I originally tried to post this to relationship advice, but it got taken down because I'm under 18, so I'm putting it here. I, 17-year-old male, have been wanting to leave my toxic house for months now, because my sister, 15-year-old female, is world's #1 drama queen and loves using the victim card, and my mom always sides with her. Last night, I don't blame you if you call BS, I was in the living room eating a cup of cereal when my entitled sister was in the kitchen looking for food. Then she comes into the living room throwing a fit because I ate her eggs. She made enough for all 3 of us, but I couldn't eat my serving because I had to go to work. I told her to save me some, so I assumed they were mine when I saw a plate in the fridge. She starts witching to my mom that I'm selfish and blah blah blah, and eventually, mom starts shouting down the stairs, "You need to leave the living room so entitled sister can get herself something to eat." I said, "Nothing's stopping her. I don't care about her petty crap. I haven't eaten all day, and I want seconds and not about to come all the way downstairs for food." Then my mom said, "She can't go downstairs because then you'll hit her." Yes, I was upset because I was just trying to eat and she was being a drama queen. Yes, I was yelling because they were upstairs, but I wasn't going to hit her. The last time I hit her, she picked up a broom as a weapon and I went to disarm her. I'm a martial artist, and she stumbled back and hit her head on the wall and started crying that I hit her. So of course I got upset because she always uses the victim card and mom always falls for her bull. So I shouted upstairs, "Freak you for assuming I would hit her. I just want to freaking eat." She started yelling at me that I dared to cuss at her, and I said, "So it's okay for you to call me a woman beater for no reason, but when I say freak you, it's crossing the line? Okay, witch." She replies, "If you don't stop talking to me like that, I'm gonna kick you out." Me, knowing she'd have no income with me being the only one with a job, I laughed and said, "Then freaking do it." She said bye, and I left. I'm now crashing on my grandma's couch until my boyfriend can make room for me, and she's here as I'm writing this and said basically, "If you leave, you can't keep your Xbox and phone because I paid for them and you're not taking next month's child support because I need it." Trying to blackmail me into staying because she knows she's screwed without me, and I'm taking that child support because I need it to buy my own apartment. Also, I checked the local laws, and if you buy something with the intention of it being a gift, that becomes their property. And my BFF knows how to put a lock on the Xbox remotely and has done that, so that's freaking mine. Even if they do keep it, it'll be useless. I don't want to go back because I've been clawing for my freedom for months and now she hands it to me on a silver platter, but I do want all of my crap. Advice? Update, I talked to my boyfriend about the law, and if she does keep my property and my child support, that is property theft, fraud, and failure to provide notice of eviction, and I can sue her. I know she can't afford a lawyer because, again, I was the only source of income in the household. So just threatening to sue with intention to follow up on it may be enough to let her know I'm as serious as a heart attack. So I had to come back until my boyfriend can clean up the room and get stuff figured out, so I'll be staying at my mom's house for a couple days. And she's serious about keeping my property when legally it's mine, even if she paid for it. So on the day I move out, I'm going to call the cops to assist me in getting my crap back. That is my freaking property. 1. Intention of gift. She handed it to me and said it was mine. 2. Delivery. It was delivered in such a way where it's reasonable to assume it's my property. She handed it directly to me and said, "It's yours." 3. Acceptance. Did I accept the gift? Of course I did. I've been playing games on it for months. So that is my freaking Xbox, and the controller I paid for is definitely mine. So on the day I move out, I'm going to get the police to assist me because she thinks I'm freaking playing. I'll keep you updated. I just kind of wish OP best of luck here. A lot of times people will ask for assistance from cops and things in situations like this, and they'll often get a reply like, "We don't deal in domestic stuff like this," especially when it starts getting down to the nitty-gritty of who actually owns the Xbox. And I mean, shoot, OP being 17 years old and involving the cops trying to help them move out, the cops might be in a situation where they say, "You can't move out, you're 17. Shadow Fox commented, "I would just leave. Is your freedom worth an Xbox? Stuff can be replaced over time and isn't really needed. She's only using it to dig at you and make you come back. Don't give her that satisfaction. Just move on and only go get clothing or needed items. Then wait a few months, get grandma to grab the Xbox, and all is good." OP responded saying, "Yeah, and to be fair, my boyfriend has an Xbox. I really just need the controller I bought and paid for in all honesty, but unfortunately I'm stuck staying here until my boyfriend gets his sister's old room cleaned out for me. My grandma could only keep me overnight, so since I'm already here, I might as well try and keep all of my stuff. Plus, if need be, I could sell it to put towards an apartment, but I'd rather keep it so that I have some form of entertainment while I'm living on my own. I'm on probation, so I can't get high, so my Xbox is how I deal with stress, you know? There's just something about destroying, trash-talking 12-year-olds online." This next story is, my parents want to help me move out, but there's nothing left to do. Context, me and my boyfriend are finally moving out together. After months of searching for a good apartment all by ourselves, we finally found one and everything is great. Just we need to furniture it. After weeks of searching, we finally got the essentials. And most of those furniture come from a friend's connaissance that actually gave us a lot of stuff. The parents of that friend also let us know that they could help us moving the furniture. They have a van and it's way easier and safer. Every big step is already planned. The main issue, my parents feel like they are put to the side. Probably jealous of my friend's parents who will help us greatly. That is fair, but my parents never helped us or only slightly in the search, and are not willing to help financially, and as I said, the transport's already taken care of, so the big steps of the process are already planned and taken care of. But now my parents are forcing to help us, even asking to tell our friends not to help us so they can do what we've planned to do with our friends. My parents will already help us cleaning the apartment and bringing the first boxes. What can I do? How do I tell them that it's a bit late to only wake up when the majority has already taken care of or is already planned? I mean, I don't know how well it'll actually work for OP, but I feel like the go-to in this situation is telling them, hey, we're literally not going to do this thing you're trying to do. You can be there and make a total fool of yourselves and try to mess things up, but we've already got plans and people are helping us. We're not going to turn them down last second. Fragrant Donut 2871 commented, your parents have a case of FOMO. To prevent that from railroading your plans, come up with something that they can help with to channel their energy where you want it to go. Things like help put up furniture X, take care of food and drinks, pick out plants for the new place, etc. Or something like documenting the move, taking pictures, getting quotes from those helping. Our next story is, I don't trust you, so I'm cutting off everyone's Wi-Fi. This has been going on for a while now. My stepdad has had it out for me ever since he met my mom. I was around 7, I think, and always audited me out from his biological kids, my stepsisters. My older stepsis, who was 15 I believe, left me and my now 12-year-old younger sister with my mom and stepdad. Wait, I'm getting sidetracked. My stepdad didn't trust me or my brother with anything on our phones at night or in general. While my brother was obviously doing bad stuff, I was using Google most of the time to look up stuff to draw, mainly Pokemon and Digimon stuff, and used relaxed melodies at night because I couldn't sleep well. Cut to me waking up just today and confronting my stepdad about this. I said, why have you been cutting off the Wi-Fi at night? Stepdad replied, because you're looking up pH all the time. I replied, do you have any proof of that? He just sat there in anger for a second before cutting off the Wi-Fi again, which got mom super mad because she didn't know what was happening to it, but knew I couldn't do something like this. After a stern talking to, stepdad says he'll never do it again. Until literally the next day, he starts crap all over again. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume pH is the P-hub, or corn hub as some people like to call it. That said, unless you have like some kind of internet tracking software or actual proof, it's a pretty crazy thing to just come out and wildly claim your kid is doing. I mean, no actual proof, you just start accusing like that? It makes me think about one of my favorite games of all time, LA Noire. If anybody knows the press X to doubt meme, that's where it's from. And in that game you play a detective and sometimes you'll press X to doubt and all of a sudden the main character will like stand up and put his hands on the table and say, I know you killed that person. And then that's when you realize you don't have any actual proof to tie the person, so you go back on that accusation and he just goes, sorry about that. Sometimes you need to shake the tree to see what falls out. I think the dad was just fishing for some kind of self-report here. Omegarus commented, I think there's a Wi-Fi killer you can get that lets you disable the Wi-Fi. If there is, buy it and randomly text your mother that your stepdad is looking at adult content. Then kill the Wi-Fi when she exits her room. OP responded saying, that's evil. I'm in. Our next story is, Grandpa is upset he found out about a dog through Facebook. A little while ago, my parents got a new dog. My grandpa found out yesterday, the same way, but albeit a couple of weeks later as everyone else, through the posts my parents and sister have been making on Facebook. We're not too close or in much contact with that side of the family for many reasons, enough to fill a book about. But he started spamming the comments and messages with, you got another one? When were you planning on telling me? You have X amount now? I can't believe you didn't tell me yourself and such. The kicker? A few days before, he casually announced to the entire family that he has cancer through a Facebook post. My dad, his son, had no idea. I mean, his actions and the sheer hypocrisy of it all combined exactly with what OP described in the very last sentence here. It just does not surprise me that OP said, we're not too close or in much contact. It certainly seems like it. Paver13 commented, did anyone find out why he cared about your parents getting another dog? OP responded saying, the only thing we think the reason could be is that he's upset that he wasn't told in person or over the phone, despite him never telling my dad anything himself. Our next story is Nikki the Entitled Parent. Alright Reddit, grand finale for you. If you haven't seen my other posts, feel free to enjoy this crap show on its own merits, but you're missing out. The need to know is, after 2 failed marriages and a family death, I was left with no escape from my mother Nikki and her creepy boyfriend Richard. At least, not a responsible escape. It seemed like my mom was finally putting in an effort to parent me now that there was another person around. I wasn't allowed to run halfway across town doing God knows what anymore, And I mean at all. I was stuck where we'd moved into with Richard. A lot of times I was helping him and Nikki clean those houses college kids rent out. Disgusting yet cool work. I've always liked exploring empty places but never got paid for any of it. That was after school, of course. Really, I was running halfway across town to my boyfriend's house. I moved after the story, which messed up my sophomore credits anyways, so I'm not entirely sure how much of the school year I skipped. But I was gone often enough that my friends commented when I finally showed. As a student, I got a free city bus pass. Since my boyfriend got his school credits online, he was always home. You can put two and two together. I don't know if the school tried to contact Nikki any other way than the automated late or absent messages, but I never heard about it. Aside from the general lockdown, she was the same as always. She would show me some conspiracy crap and be super proud I wouldn't be a mindless sheep. She would include myself and Richard's kids in the New Year's festivities until the sun was hitting on me and puking in the toilet. She'd be pissed that I'd made myself dinner because her and Richard had been out all night. I even saved them some breaded pork chops and mashed potatoes. Definitely a chip on my shoulder over that one. She always had that effect on me. You can either go to bed or go outside would turn into her trying to drag me back inside. And getting her off of me would result in a smashed front window. Really unhinged stuff. I also dislike how she used cigarettes against me once she found out I smoked. Note for later, she actually told me to ask her when I wanted one. Then we were arguing once and I told her I could use a smoke. She smirked and told me I could have one after doing the dishes. The horrendous timing didn't help my mood, but my literal bro slipped me a cigarette while I was fuming. I can't remember when he, his wife, and kids moved in with us, but before you start picturing Full House, Richard's kids were only over for visitation. They were still around a decent bit, enough for me to pick up on the fact that his son had a crush on me. We actually had a decent conversation once where I made it clear I wasn't interested and he accepted that. Yay, healthy communication. Richard forbade me from speaking to his kids after that. Maybe it pissed him off that neither of them could get me? He hadn't bothered me much since I literally ran from him, so I don't know. So, about the cigarette thing. I honestly don't know how Nikki figured it out. Maybe she finally noticed the multiple open packs she left around going missing. I do remember how she confronted me about it though. Late at night, with my hand inside her purse. I've told you before, I was not a good kid. Ironically, I wasn't even stealing cigarettes. I just lost my bus pass and wanted to visit my boyfriend. I must have gotten it replaced at some point, since I remember him seeing the bruises from the literal paddling Nikki gave me. She didn't take kindly to my petty effort of showing no pain, so I got a few more whacks than she originally said I would. I also lost my bedroom door privileges and the kitchen door was padlocked. Don't ask me, my best guess is that in Nikki's holier-than-thou racist philosophies had something against thievery, considering how much she mentioned it in that context. Things did get pretty serious around this time period. I got real good at stealing from convenience stores, and Richard even got annoyed when I once licked my dinner plate after being refused seconds. He also didn't appreciate the broken window incident. Maybe I drove him off because he ended up getting another place to stay most of the time. That also got Nikki out of the house a lot, so there was some peace again. It was on that kind of day, while my bro and I were playing Xbox, that his wife walked in and told us that Nikki was going to marry Richard. I was a pretty dramatic kid and immediately picked up my phone to call my dad to come and get me. We had been estranged after my mom convinced me to deny him visitation, but I'd started talking with him again. While he was on his way, my boyfriend came over and helped my brother and I pack some things. I was just looking for an excuse to bail at that point, so everything moved pretty quickly. My brother and I joked about how long it would take Nikki to notice I was gone. A week later, she showed up with police to the school Dad had enrolled me in, pointing out the earlier promises of juvie if I ran away again, and that it would be preferable to living in a house with her did nothing, of course. They still couldn't be bothered to deal with our family drama, but CPS could. Imagine my surprise when my boyfriend gets a call that people are looking for me at school, and he could get in trouble if I'm there with him. My first day back at that school, and I was caught ditching. I got back there quick to find my very displeased caseworker, who wanted to know where I had been. After years of seeing my parents weaponizing CPS against each other, it hadn't occurred to me to contact them. I was completely honest, of course. What possible repercussions could I face? In the eyes of the law, Nikki was supposed to be responsible for me. Not that she needed my help to slander her parenting skills. It only took another week to be out of that house for good. The lock was obviously removed from the kitchen now, but that didn't matter much once we ran out of food. You see, Nikki was still at Richard's the majority of the time. My brother's car had broken down, so the only way to the store was on foot. Not like it was my bro's job to feed me. We couldn't get a hold of her, and so we called my caseworker. 20 minutes, give or take, and Nikki storms into the house yelling about I don't remember what. She was mad at my brother, angrily packing her things to stay with Richard. Before leaving again, she shoved her grandson over when he got in her way, which is when I think bro decided to leave with me. We both packed after getting the go-ahead from caseworker. My dad even went by the police station to confirm he was taking me. I'd like to say that I had no contact with Nikki after that, but I did attempt to stay with her a few more times. There was that time when she opened all of the windows and doors of our apartment to heat the outside when I tried to get away from her and cool down. Or when, I also have the story on my profile, she tried to get my previous boyfriend, now husband, arrested or ended by telling the police he was going to shoot up a diner. That one was the straw for me, despite her holding an inheritance over my head and arguing that she deserves a relationship with me. Oh, and that my son is missing out on a relationship with her. Apologies for the warped timeline on this one. As crazy as it sounds now, this was my normal for a long time. It really just blends together, especially after so long. I'm glad to say that I was more level-headed at dad's. I had my moments, but I was actually good in school when I wanted to be. Not sure how to end this saga. If you read all the installments, I don't know. Congrats. You know me a bit better now, and I'd be interested to hear some of your crazy life experiences. I get bored being all normal and well-adjusted now. Really though, I'm doing good. Hope you can say the same. I'm trying to think about this and I can't decide whether I want to say the caseworker was doing their job well or not doing their job well at all. I guess considering it's kind of different scenarios, those different scenarios could end up on the charts in different places. Some of them might have been a little bit more better affirmative action than others. Switchmodder commented, "Wow, she is insane. I'm glad you're gone and safe from her now." Our next story is, my parents still don't understand that no means no. I mentioned last week how they forced me to go chaperone my brother and his new girlfriend. This week was about the same, with them telling me to go with my older brother to a back-to-school youth service, which doesn't make sense because my brother and I are out of college. Anyways, I kept telling my dad no over and over, but he just didn't get the hint. At some point, I got annoyed with him bugging me about it, so I cracked and decided to just go to the service. I tried to stay as unengaged as possible, and the main thing I've done is think about the job that I interviewed for a couple days ago. I'm planning on seeing if I can start volunteering at the campaign office next week so I can keep my parents off my case. I also have to wait to hear back from the job I interviewed for, but it's frustrating that I can't put my foot down yet. It's definitely a lot more difficult when you live with them and they can continue to insist until their face turns purple or whatnot, but I agree wholeheartedly from this comment by CharmingGur578 that says, "What do you mean? No means no, and then you proceed to do it." Honestly, what you're telling them is that if they bother you enough, you'll do what they want, eventually. Keep your word from now on. If you don't want to do it, don't. Whale Shark commented, "There's a tenant in obedience training. Don't repeat a command. Say jump once, then reward the trainee if they perform, and don't reward if they don't. You're repeating no as if the topic is still open for discussion, and then rewarding for no performance by caving to the pestering. Learn to say no once and invest in some earplugs. That's the only way to teach them that when you say no, you mean no." OP responded saying, "I'm afraid because I don't know what they'll do. If I had financial leverage, I don't think I would be scared." Our next story is, my sister is always treated like a princess. Meanwhile, I'm being treated like I'm an object. I'm 16 and I've been living with my parents due to money problems, and they've been getting really abusive. Yesterday, my younger sister, who's 7, knocked over my glass cup, breaking it. But my mom kept saying it was my fault. She then grabbed me by my hair and dragged me out the door. It was snowing and I was in a light hoodie and sweatpants. She threw me outside and locked me out. I laid under a tarp near the garage until my dad got home, which took about 3 hours. Dad luckily wasn't drunk as heck like usual and let me inside. My mom then went the rest of the day acting like nothing happened. She never said anything to me for the rest of the day except for a few death glares. Oh yeah, I don't have a bed. I sleep on a wooden floor in my room while my younger sister has a rug and a nice bed. I can't take it, and I'm contemplating ending things. What do I do? Update, I've seen a lot of comments say call the cops or CPS, but I can't. I don't own a phone. And as far as I know, my school laptop, what I'm using to post this, can't call numbers. And I'm also not allowed off my parents' property without asking or heck issues. So going to the police is a no-go. Most of the time in a situation like this where you literally have no other option as far as calling goes, you turn to the resources at your school. Like McFlame13 commented saying, talk to the counselor at your school about the possible neglect and abuse you're dealing with, and also inform your counselor that you want CPS involved since you do not feel safe at home anymore. I hope you have other family members you can move in with, since staying with your beyond abusive parents is going to drive you to do something. Our next story is, my religious parents forced me to go on a beach trip so I can chaperone my older brother and his new girlfriend. It would be one thing if they were under 18, but they're both over 20 years old for crying out loud. I've also been getting annoyed with having to play third wheel every time he's gotten into a new relationship for the past 7 to 8 years. Apparently, purity culture still applies to every new Pentecostal couple, even if they're grown adults. Jokes aside, I really wish I could find a solid excuse on weekends to get out of stuff like this. Even with the job I'm interviewing for, I would still have some weekends off, so there's a chance my parents would do this again. Outside of volunteering for local campaigns, which my dad, my pastor, is against because most of them are with a Democratic candidate, I can't think of anything else to fall back on. I have a small circle of friends out of church, but there's no way my family would be cool with me hanging out with them because they'll say that they're going to be a bad influence until I save up enough to move out next year. I'm going to be in a constant struggle to put my foot down considering that I don't have financial leverage on them. Edit, I didn't expect this many people to engage. Thanks for all the advice that's been given so far. This week, I'm going to have another phone call with a job I'm interviewing for, so I'm hoping that goes well. Other than that, I'm looking into a second income that I can do on my days off. If anyone has any suggestions, let me know so I can get started on it. If and when I get hired, I won't start my first shift for about a month, so it would give me some time to establish that second income. Honestly, I can't tell you how much of a buzzkill it is to see OP say that they want to volunteer for local campaigns, and then OP's dad, a pastor, says, no, you can't do that, it's a Democratic candidate. Like what, does God only endorse one political party? What about a third party candidate, would it be okay in that case? It's just actually hilarious to me that OP's chance to get out of the house is utterly screwed just because it isn't the right political party. Otherwise, OP would have no problem getting out there. It's just so controlling. Infamous Headshaker commented, make a plan with your brother so that he and his girlfriend can hang out, and you can do your own thing in the same area. I know it's frustrating, but sometimes you don't have an option but to play the game if you're wanting to keep the peace with unpeaceful parents. Once you save up, save more because this world is expensive. Don't forget about food banks because food will be pricey when you do move. There's a surplus of support groups on Facebook and Reddit, people who are more informed than I am, that can point you in directions of programs and resources that can help you when you do move out. Also, make friends with your coworkers. There's many good people out there. You don't know who's willing to help you out. OP responded, thanks. The job I'm interviewing for has a lot more resources like resume help, insurance coverage, and even food support, so I could probably ask them for help and explain my situation to them. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.